Alright, tonight's video is looking at causes of wind, and then we're going to look at what are called local winds. So these are winds that blow over small distances. Those are different than global winds, which we'll look at tomorrow night. So it's super windy over the next couple of days, so this kind of give you an idea of why it's doing that. So let's start with wind. So let's just define what wind is. Alright, we all experienced it, but wind is just the movement of air along the Earth's surface. That's all it is. At its basic, wind is moving air going from one place to another. And wind moves from areas of higher air pressure to areas of lower air pressure, right? The air pressure wants to be equal. So think about a balloon. When you blow up a balloon, the air pressure in the balloon is higher than the air pressure in the room. If you release the balloon, the air in the balloon comes rushing out, right? And there's wind through the little neck of the balloon. Right? That pressure wants to be equal. So there are a couple different reasons why pressures will be different on the surface of the Earth. We'll talk about those in a second. But when you have those differences in pressure, pressure wants to balance, and wind blows from high pressure to low pressure. So anytime there's wind outside, there's differences in pressure somewhere causing that wind to happen. So the biggest cause of differences in air pressure is temperature. So most differences in air pressure are caused by the unequal heating of the Earth's surface. So we're going to call this differences in or causes of the wind. So the wind is caused by those unequal heating, right? Different areas of the Earth receive different amounts of sunlight because the Earth is curved, right? If you're at the equator, you're going to get more intense sunlight. It's going to be hotter. If you're near the poles, you're going to get less intense sunlight and it's going to be cooler. And again, these are as a general rule, right? Sometimes because of ocean currents, because of other weather factors, one area might be cooler here or warmer here than down here, right? But in general, it's cooler up here and it's warmer down here. Remember that as temperature goes down, air pressure goes up, right? So you might want to remind yourself of that in your notes, that as temperature goes down, air pressure goes up. So lower temperature places tend to have higher pressure than warmer temperature places, and those pressures are going to want to balance out. So we can measure wind in two ways, right? First thing we do is measure the speed of the wind, and we use a tool called an anemometer. You have to know how to spell that, and you have to know how to say it. It is not a manometer. It is not a manometer. It is an anemometer. It's the little thing with the cups. Those cups catch the wind as the wind blows and they spin. The faster the anemometer spins, the faster the wind speed is going. Pretty straightforward. The next thing we can measure is a wind's direction. All right? And we use what's called a wind vane. You see these on top of buildings sometimes. This one has a dog. Sometimes they have roosters. Sometimes they have little boats. Whatever. All right? The important thing is as the wind blows, it pushes this into line with the wind, and so the arrow ends up pointing how the wind is blowing. So winds, and this is important and to get in your notes, winds are named for the direction they come from, not the direction they are blowing to, right? So in this picture, the wind is coming from the south, so we would call this a southerly wind or a south wind, right? A northerly wind or a north wind blows from the north to the south. And that's what we're getting here over the next day or two while it's so cold. All right, we're getting a lot of north winds bringing cold air down from the north. All right, so that's important. Winds are named for the direction they come from, not the direction they're going to. All right, we're going to finish this off by talking about some types of local winds. So we split winds up into local and global winds. So a local wind, right, is a wind that blows over short distances, right? And there are lots of different reasons why you might have local winds, right? A city might be warmer than the surrounding land, and so that city's pressure will drop, winds will blow into the city, right? We're going to focus on two specific local winds that you need to know about because they're really common and they're very reliable, right? So these are caused by unequal heating over short distances. And our two common ones we're going to look at are sea and land breezes. So a sea breeze is what we'll look at first. And both of these occur on the coast. So a sea breeze occurs during the day And during the day, the land will heat up more than the water. If you've ever been to the beach, you know the sand gets a lot hotter than the ocean does. Right? The water stays about the same temperature, but the land gets real hot. As the land heats up, the air pressure drops. Right? So we've got lower pressure here, higher pressure over the water, and that high pressure air moves in to take its place. At night, we get the opposite. Right? This is called a land breeze. At night, the land cools off. Again, the water stays about the same temperature, but the land gets cold. And so now you have high pressure over the land, lower pressure over the water. Right? The pressure over the water is pretty much unchanged, but the pressure over the land has gotten a lot higher, and so now the wind is blowing out to sea. Right? And we call that a land breeze, right? Because again, the wind is named for where it comes from. All right, so today we talked about the causes of wind, right? That the winds are caused by unequal pressure, usually caused by unequal heating of the earth. One part of the earth gets more heat than the other, which causes a pressure difference. We can measure wind using an anemometer and a wind vane. And then local winds are short distances, and we looked at sea and land breezes, which occur on the coast and are caused by differences in temperature between the ocean and the land. Right? So at the end, write 3 questions that you have based on these notes. Tomorrow in class, we'll start by finishing up that conclusion activity, and then we'll go into looking at a little lab, looking at how winds move due to temperature. I'll see you tomorrow.